Silver has been moving up every day, and we're expecting a breakout into that $50 area for the possible third attempt at a new all-time high. And a lot of you are saying that you will sell or stop when it gets to that level. But what happens next? Let's talk about it in today's video. Want to win 100 ounces of American Silver Eagles completely free? Well, JM Bullion is giving away 5 full tubes of 100 coins packed in a custom waterproof Pelican case. There is no purchase necessary, and the giveaway ends September 11th of this year. And if you want to get in on this opportunity, click the link in the description below to enter for your chance to win. And just to be clear, JM Bullion is not sponsoring this channel in any sort of way. This is me just wanting to pass this opportunity along to help you guys out. So don't miss out on this. Click the link in the description and enter for your chance to win 100 ounces of free silver. Hi everybody, and welcome back to yet another video. So let's start with what happened each time silver crossed into that $50 an ounce territory. Well, back in the 1980s and 2011, it peaked well into that range, and the difference that I see is the path that it took to get there. The prior two events were a bit of an exponential and fairly quick move upwards. This time around, it's very gradual. Plus, different events are taking place that don't seem as artificial as the previous two, such as the Hunt brothers cornering the market in the 80s and post-Great Financial Crisis, or GFC, back in 2008. And as I said before, a lot of people have this psychological barrier that they've kind of created for themselves, and I wonder if that is mainly due to the previous rise that resulted in the immediate pullback later on down the road. So what's different about it this time around? Well, there's still a chance that it could still spike like the last two events did. Predicting market trends is not something I typically do, but I think that it's obvious enough to maybe say at a very simple level that there are different situations that are playing out that don't really support any artificial moves into higher levels. With the existence of BRICS, the rapid devaluation of the dollar, inventory issues, and more extreme global conflicts that we've seen prior in the past, these are the perfect setup pieces for a precious metals bull run to move upwards. And of course, if you adjust the price for inflation, that number is going to be higher than those $50 events, but we're not talking about the nominal, we're talking about the nominal price here. We're not going to talk about what it should be. That's a different topic, but rather what it is at its current state. And I think a lot of stackers out there understand that and are preparing for the potential or even extreme upward swing that could go beyond that $50 mark. So let's play pretend here and assume that we do hit that $50 level, and we have to ask ourselves, who would buy at $50? Well, there's a lot of things that you need to consider from this point, and I'm going to try to explain what they all are. And the first thing is, if we do pass that level, you're going to see a possibility of two things. One is to push the price extremely higher, or it'll come back down again like it did before. Now, obviously, those are the only two possible outcomes unless you count a sideways movement in price. But when we hit that level, you will either bring in a massive amount of momentum chasing FOMO driven buyers or sellers. Depending on which group is the bigger amount, that's going to determine, in my opinion, where the price goes. And another thing to consider, and I think this is going to impact the sellers more than the buyers, because many of you have already said that you would stop buying if it hit those levels. But I think a lot of people are going to end up trying to sell, because the other thing that I constantly hear is the lack of funds to purchase silver, even at their current price, and the general financial difficulties that people are facing. So I think most people are going to take advantage of the high price and attempt to sell. Maybe not the entire stash, but just portions of it. And I think only a smaller group of people are going to keep buying regardless. And however, you got to consider this. If you're going to sell, where would you typically do that? Typically, you go to your local coin shop. But if everyone is selling, would they be able, they being the LCS, would they be able to actually give you the cash or any form of payment for that silver? Because if there are less buyers and everyone is selling, there's no money being made from the coin dealer's perspective. And they aren't going to be able to come up with the funds to pay out anyone who's trying to sell to them. Now, they have ways of doing that. They could probably send it to the refiner, but that's if they even accept any more silver. The local coin shop, they could offer much less than spot to accept any form of inventory. So you'd be getting a terrible deal. Price of silver could be 50, but they're only going to offer you 30. That just is an extreme situation. But they could also limit how much someone can sell to them in a given day, or just not accept any selling whatsoever. So then what happens to your plan when that situation happens? Those are some things you definitely got to think about. So this could eventually turn into a buyer's market despite the price increase. In fact, you may actually get deals from the LCS just so that they can have cash on hand to finance any future selling transactions. One thing that I could see happening is what I want to call a shadow priced market. For example, if the spot price is $50 an ounce, dealers could be buying or selling below spot across the board just to maintain business of operations. So here's why I think that will happen, or what will happen. If the spot price does hit 50 and there's more sellers than buyers, dealers are not going to have the cash on hand to finance those selling transactions. So for them to do that, they're going to be more likely to offer massive discounts to buyers and offer worse deals to sellers to fund any future transactions. So here's an example. If you are selling your silver, you could receive $30 an ounce or $20 below spot. And if you're a buyer, you could be getting a discount of $10 and only buying at $40 an ounce. So that would just be a short-term event though, because I think once prices become stable, whether that's a higher or lower, and the market kind of settles down with everything and the hysteria kind of settles down, I think we would see a normal rate of exchange based on the new spot levels. So essentially what I see happening is that the price of silver will spike to 50, sellers will flood the coin shop markets trying to cash out, dealers will become overwhelmed with inventory and short on cash, forcing them to offer below spot. And then even though the COMEX or the spot price is showing 50, they're going to offer below that in the buy and sell areas. Eventually, the dislocation pushes sellers out and attracts new buyers looking for better deals. And over time, the inventory will balance out, demand stabilizes, the physical market and the paper prices reconnect, and everything kind of comes back to normal. So silver might hit $50, but what happens next is going to depend on how the markets react. If the rise is gradual, which we're currently seeing, and it's supported by factors like a weakening dollar, etc., to keep the silver value strong, we could see the prices continue to climb. But if silver spikes quickly like it has before, it could potentially create a shadow market where the physical dealers get overwhelmed and start trading below spot, which will eventually push prices back down. And that drop would mark the third failed breakout attempt, showing that the market still hasn't found a sustainable demand at these levels yet. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think that it's entirely possible for a shadow market to exist? Where do you guys think that it's going to go from here? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.